Hello and welcome to lesson 98 of the Learning Guitar series. In this particular lesson, we're going to continue our study of finger picking and we're going to look at finger permutations exercises. Let's delve straight into it and let's look at what the PDF contains. So in this chapter, we will explore right-hand finger pattern permutations. These first 8 bars on the PDF, they basically present several variations of 4 finger patterns. 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 4, etc. And what it means by that basically is referring to right hand, where 1 is basically your thumb, 2 is your index finger, 3 is your middle finger, 4 is your ring finger. So in the last lessons, we did patterns which were basically 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're exploring different permutations. So maybe, for example, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 4. So that's what those numbers refers to. Study each variation individually, and then again, individually apply them to the following chord progression. What that means is, basically, you're taking each of these patterns individually. You're just practicing. These are basically different permutations. This would be 1, 4, 3, 2, repeated twice. This would be 1, 4, 2, 3, repeated twice, etc. And you apply, say, you're practicing this particular pattern, and you apply to this chord progression. Say, for example, the exercise A. Then maybe you can take this pattern here, pattern number 3, and apply it to the same chord progression. The same goes for A, B, C, D, E, and F. As we've seen in the previous lesson, this is a great opportunity for us to not only practice right-hand finger patterns, but also like to delve into interesting chord progression and again solidify all the studies of chords we've done in the past. Let's look at progression A. This is a fairly simple progression which makes good use of open strings, and we move from C to A minor 7 with the bass of G, D with the F's on F sharp, F6, A minor, C, F, and E. It's actually easier than, in my look on paper. So the following progression are written using stacked whole notes for reference only. So play each chord according to the pattern you've chosen. Over time, I recommend experimenting with applying each individual pattern to each progression. So if we look at progression number 1, you have C major, so basically this. In this case, I don't know, maybe let's use, I find pattern number 8 kind of interesting, and it goes like this. Where you're playing first and fourth finger at the same time, and then second and third finger, they alternate in the middle. It's basically this pattern here. And this pattern is interesting, like the previous one, pattern number 7, because as you can see here, you're playing 2 notes at the same time, as opposed to what you've done until now. And that's going to give us a rudimental starting point in terms of perceiving also a sense of melody, because you're playing the bass note and a melodic note at the same time, and those are all on the beat. You're going to start perceiving it as, oh, there is, some sort of chord melody going on. It's not that sophisticated yet, but, it's a good start. So if we look at progression A, you have this kind of effect. And I got to apologize straight away because I just spotted a mistake, which I'll make sure it will be corrected on the PDF I upload to Patron. But the first chord actually is not C major. It's supposed to be A minor. In fact, it's actually written as an A minor. I just wrote the wrong symbol. So this is A minor. As you can see, it's 0, 2, 2, 1. And here it should have been A minor. Sorry for the mistake. So here is the progression. And this progression is interesting from a chordal point of view also because you have this motion where the bass note is moving from A to G to F sharp to F, which is kind of typical in a way. So if I did it like, I'll do it like 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have a sense if you studied the previous lesson, obviously. And I'm sure this is the kind of motion that you heard in the past. And the second 4 bars, fairly simple. A minor, then C, then F, and E. And the function of this E chord is simply to bring us back to A minor. It's a 5-1, minor 5-1. Again, we've done that in the past. You could change that into an E7 if you wanted to do, if you still... And you see, you have a sense of tension resolution. And again, if we play it with, with the pattern number 8, you have this kind of pattern. And this is a stage where you might want to start paying kind of attention at the volume you're imposing on different fingers. In this case, you might want the first note, the one on the beat, so the bass note and the first finger and fourth finger, to be slightly louder than second and third finger. So you have a perception, I mean, like, I don't want to push it, but you have a perception it's like maybe 2 instruments playing. But the idea is the harmony is kind of quieter compared to how loud melody is. Let's look at the pattern B. So exercise B. In this case, we have a very simple A sus2, A sus4, back to A, D sus2, D sus4, back to D. It's very simple, but, these are quite common chords, so I wanted you to get, to have an idea of them, pretty much, and hear the sound of it. Very common in pop music and rock music. But in this case, we're kind of, again, playing it with finger picking, but... etc., 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 etc. Again, if you were to do a different pattern, say 1, 4, 3, 2, it would sound like this. If we look at now exercise C, now we start having a little bit more, still kind of open chords and a mixture of maybe some minor 7 and major 7, but nothing too complicated yet. Let's have a listen to it. So you have D. I'll play it as a 1, 4, 3, 2. D major 7, D7, D7 sus4, G major, G minor, D major, A7, B minor, B minor 7 with the bass of A, G, G6, G minor, back to D, back to A, and here is our A sus again. So here you're having some, sometimes a little bit cliche, but it's good to know them, it's good to hear them. So for example, the D to D major 7 to D7 is a common one. The same would have been D to D major 7 to D6. Back to D major 7, that's another common one. And depending on the pattern, we're still doing just, 8 notes very regular. We're not playing rhythm yet. We're just getting the fingers used to it. But depending on the pattern, you get a different feel. Here, for example, was another pattern. At the end of the day, the first 8 bars that gives you the various permutation, obviously they're not all of them. It's just to get you started with the idea, that you get a different effect just because you're changing your right hand pattern, and you're changing you're keeping the chord progression common. In fact, you could approach this PDF as in, I'm going to study exercise A, and then apply the different patterns and see which ones you like best. And same thing, then exercise B, as opposed to take one pattern and do A, B, C, D, F. Different ways, whatever you enjoy more. The good point is that this kind of exercises, they have a musicality to it. And as I said, you're revisiting chords in the process, which is a good thing. Let's look at exercise D. Now, here we go into a more sophisticated kind of voicings and chords. As you can see, C major 6/9 and B minor 7 flat 6, etc. And it's good that you get confronted with these kind of chords, because you might find them interesting and opens up other possibilities in terms of sound. In this case, we have C major 6/9, which is voiced this way. B minor 7 with a flat 6. B flat 13. A7. A flat major 7. E flat major 9. D minor 7 flat 5. G7 sharp 5. And as you can hear, actually, the way it's more intimidating somehow to look at the name of the chord than to actually play the things, because actually, musically speaking, it's not that, it's kind of musical. Let's see. Almost forgot for a second the progression. I had to actually look at it, And again, if you did it as 1, 4, 3, 2. And of course, all these exercises have repeat sign at the beginning and the end, because all this progression, for example, this last chord was a G7 sharp 5, and the idea is to resolve back to C, so they can become kind of cyclical. It's like a cycle, right? Let's look now at exercise E. And exercise E is kind of similar to D in a way, in the way the progression flows, the bass line descending. And, it's interesting, again, you got some new voicings, for example, like B7 flat 5 that you might not have encountered before, or C minor 11. Let's have a look. So here you have B flat major 7, A flat 13, G7, G7 sharp 5, C minor 9, F13, F minor 11, B7 flat 5. And if I did, for example, pattern 7, I think it is, so you would have something along, and it cycles. The last progression we encounter is probably the kind of the most elaborated. And again, it's interesting from a harmonic point of view, the way it's moving. And I'll just spend 2 seconds on it, for example, to explain you why we are in the key of D. We're moving diatonically in the key of D, so this will be called number 7. But then you have an F sharp 7 as opposed to F sharp minor 7, which would be diatonic, but for simple fact that this becomes a 5 chord for B minor, so we have a minor 5-1. Then we're simply moving back to B flat major 7, which becomes a different type of resolution for D major 7. And G minor 7 is basically a substitution for A7, and when we looked at that when we've done harmonic minor, and not only harmonic minor, also when we've done inversions and triads studies and all that kind of stuff. And again, A7 is a 5-1 for D. E flat minor 7 flat 5, this is a substitution for B7, which leads to E minor. So again, it's a 5-1, a minor 2-5-1. And that's the 2, that's the 5, and this is a substitution for A7, which leads us back to D. This is chord number 3, and again, you have the same type of minor 5-1. It's the same as this. This time we're actually using the actual B, and then you have a 5-1 to go back to D. As you can see, there is a lot of tension resolution and harmonic trickery to get across different kind of chords. And the progression itself, actually, if you boiled it down to its minimum common denominator, would be kind of simple. But this is kind of, we're getting into a realm which is closer to jazz and fusion and this kind of stuff. But again, you'll see straight away that actually sounds very musical. So we have D major 7, C sharp minor 7 flat 5, B sharp 7 to B minor 7, B flat major 7, D major 7, G minor 7. See how it's tension, tension A7, resolution D major 7, tension E flat minor 7 flat 5, wants to resolve into E minor, tension E flat 7, that's a substitution for A7, back to chord number 3, E minor 9, A7 sharp 5, and you're back to D. And this is an interesting one because I'll stop talking and maybe I'll just play it, so you see what I mean by it kind of feels still very musical. It looks more daunting when you look at the chart than when you're playing it. So you have kind of this. I'll play it as a 1, 2, 3, 4, so it gives you time to digest it. As you can see, as I said, it's kind of very melodic at the end of the day, maybe even a little bit cheesy, but it's a good excuse to practice chords. As you can see, this lesson, in terms of PDF, ends here, and 3-4 weeks should be enough for you to be able to tackle all these kind of chords. I mean, it looks simpler somehow on paper. It looks short, but actually it's not. The moment you try and apply all the different permutation, you'll realize, it gets a bit more, it takes time. It definitely takes time. Once again, you might want to practice with a metronome. Sometimes actually you might want to practice these things with no tempo. Like kind of a bit like classical music, you're using some form of rallentando and crescendo in terms of tempo. I don't know if those are the right words. I'm not a classical musician, but say like you could play it. and modulating while doing exercise. This is what I mean by like the tempo is kind of moving, as opposed to be like that all the time. But in time it will come. It's been a pleasure as always. This is the last lesson for 2025. And so I take the chance wishing you a wonderful Christmas, and I'll see you in the new Eve. Thank you. Bye.